By the end of our last tutorial, we'd reached the stage where we could decide the outcome of the game after 10 races, whether it be an overall win or one of many draw scenarios. Our next task is to use the information to display the result within the scoreboard. I'll just cut to our next tutorial here. I've created the file for that. And I now have the full scoreboard in place. And it can display the result in two separate ways. Firstly, coming out of the top here, when the end of the 10th race has been reached, we'll have a banner telling us as to whether there's been an overall winner or whether it's been one of the draw scenarios that are possible, either a 2-way, 3-way, 4-way or 5-way draw scenario. The second way that it can display the results is by showing us as to which of the snakes has either won or drawn with any of the other snakes using indicator arrows which pop up out of here. In fact, what we'll do, we'll have a quick look at the scoreboard to see what's going on in there. So you can see I've cut the top out here. There's no real need to do it, obviously, because we never see in there, but for the sake of this tutorial I've done that anyway. So I've got my outcome indicators, as I call them, in here. I'll just calm down there. So if I bring one of them out, overall winner is the first one, which of course will pop up if there's been a clear winner. So that's the first thing the scoreboard tells us. And then down at the bottom I have the arrows that I mentioned, and they will rise up and show us which snake has won. There's an individual arrow for each snake. So that's how this is going to work. Obviously, if there's a draw scenario, then two or more of the arrows will leap up and indicate who's drawn with who. That's what we're about here. Now, this is extremely complicated stuff, as I've said before, so I'm going to break this down into quite a number of tutorials and give it to you in very bite-sized pieces so that it's easier to take it all in. So without further ado, I'm going to just cut back to my main camera. I've already placed a new Expresso tag on here, so I'll open that one up and we'll start work. First thing we need is a time node, and we also need it set to frames and time as we've used before. Just place that over there. Following on from here, I need two compares. My first and my second. The first compare we need to use with the time node, so we'll plug our frames into our top input here, and we're comparing, as we did before, to greater than or equal to 120 frames. So that the whole point is, as before, is that once we've reached the end of the last race, that's when we're interested in using this part of the expression. Just bring that over here so we can see what we're doing. In our second compare, we need to plug in the slither number keeper. So we need coordinates position Y as per usual. So we'll plug that into there, and we're comparing to equal to 10. So as before, it's a case of once we've got to the end of the 10th race, that's when we're interested in looking at the result. And as before, we need another bool that we can plug both of those into, and as usual we can leave its function as AND. So that's the first part of our setup. Continuing on from here, we need all of the scorekeepers brought in for the snakes. So we'll just go and get those and drag them all in. Set them up as needs be. Just down here for now. Maximize their sizes. And place position Y in all of those. So coordinates position Y. And our last one. Okay, so that's that piece done. Following on from this, we need 5 conditions. So I'll get one there, copy across as per usual. Oops, don't want to do that. Just move that one down there. So I've got my 5 conditions, and I can then plug the output of my bool into all of the switches. Just move these over a little bit, tidy things up. Okay, so I can get all of my switches sorted out there. And then in the bottom, or the input 3 of each one of these, I can plug in my scorekeepers. Plug that one in there. And that completes the first part of our expression. So to recap it, once we've reached the end of the 10th race, we're going to switch each of these conditions and look at our scorekeepers' final positions. So we're going to take the scores, because obviously the scorekeepers are the scores. We're going to take the scores and analyse their final values, passing them through these conditions. So that's where we are at this stage of things. And I'm going to call a halt to it in this tutorial there, because as I said, I'm going to give you this in very bite-sized pieces. So that's the end of tutorial number 10. In our next tutorial, we're going to implement the various elements that will allow us to ascertain as to whether there's been an overall win. So I'll see you there very shortly.